August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated the Mississippi Gulf Coast. East Biloxi, a diverse neighborhood of hard-working, poor, and low-income families, was especially hard hit. As the community attempts to regroup, child care and family services are urgently needed. Before Katrina, the nonprofit More Community House provided these services for 80 years to East Biloxi's most impoverished families. Moore's staff is working tirelessly to rebuild and reopen, but desperately need funds. Many of you have already given to Katrina relief efforts, but we pray that this short video will move your hearts to give a little more. More Community House vows to make each of your dollars count towards serving poor families, many of whom have only More Community House and you to turn to. Thank you.
How can I help? Where should I start? What can I possibly do to make any difference in the face of such complete devastation? These were questions many of us asked in the days after Hurricane Katrina. Answering them became urgent as I learned that my sister, Carol Burnett, had lost her home and workplace, More Community House. Having witnessed the extent of destruction personally, I wanted to tell the story of the impact of this unprecedented storm on More and its services. So please look beyond the amateur work of this video, as I'm not a professional journalist or photographer, and see the great needs and the opportunity we each hold to help reestablish More Community House.
The hurricane had devastating impact all along East Biloxi, and houses here were either completely destroyed or they were rendered uninhabitable.
As we drove into East Biloxi several weeks after Katrina, Carol pointed to block after block of concrete slabs and steps that led to only a memory of what had recently been a hardworking, multicultural community.
A lot of what you see along the streets out here are the contents, although a lot of it's been cleared up, but people had to just dump everything: mattresses, clothing, sheetrock, insulation, everything.
Approaching More Community House, we were surrounded by the fragments of people's lives. The stench of mud-caked carpets was in the streets, along with every conceivable household object. I was stunned, disoriented. Nothing was where it was supposed to be.
And this is More Community House. Oh my God, Carol. This is our property here on the left, Epworth Church.
Katrina's surge of water engulfed the peninsula. Moore's 3 playgrounds and 8 buildings were submerged under a 12-foot wall of water, which lifted them completely off their foundations.
These are buildings, they look, like they're fine on the outside, but when you go inside, you can just walk in and see the damage.
No one anticipated the degree of destruction that Katrina would cause. Most of the organization's 80 years of archives were lost, along with all equipment and supplies. Luckily, Carol was able to salvage a few photos that allow us to look back through time into the heart of More, the children.
More Community House is a United Methodist Mission Agency. It was founded in this community of East Biloxi in 1924. And for that long history of operating in the community, it has always provided services for poor and low-income families, targeting primarily on children's programming. Child care is very expensive, and for low-income families who are at minimum wage or even slightly above minimum wage, child care is extremely expensive. In Mississippi, the average cost of child care is higher than the average cost of college tuition at our public state universities. So for a low-wage family, especially a single parent-headed family, subsidized child care is necessary in order for them to be able to go to work. And that's the population that we serve.
Beyond the services it provides this fragile community, More is often the only public voice for these families as they attempt to climb out of poverty.
We are an organization that's done a lot of advocacy around child care and the access to subsidized child care for low-income families, and those issues continue to be important. And it was really the experience of working with families directly in that way that informed us about what kinds of advocacy needed to take place on a larger level.
Katrina, however, left more, its programs, children and families, staff and buildings, uprooted and scattered. In addition to property losses, many suffered loss of family members and friends, adding to the emotional toll.
I heard a lot of stories when I came over, and I heard a lot about the deaths that had occurred, and in fact, I didn't hear about it then, but then I learned later that my aunt was one of the people that drowned during Katrina. And to this day, we have not been able to retrieve her body from the coroners or whoever they have her. So we still, although we know that she was one of the victims, we have not been able to put a closure on that.
With homes, jobs, and in some cases family members lost, moving forward has been painful and slow. Yet residents are returning home, hopeful to reclaim their lives and livelihood.
The recovery has been very difficult, and the three things that we've seen that were most critical for supporting the recovery of the community have been homes, jobs, and child care for parents so that they could return to work.
So what are the most immediate needs facing Moore Community House?
Our most immediate need is to get an interim space secured and cleaned up and repaired so that we can move in and operate.
Longer term, the now useless structures of Moore Community House must be demolished, removed, and replaced. Estimated costs of this enormous project are $1.75 million.
Demolishing these buildings that have been destroyed and reconstructing is going to be a lengthy and expensive undertaking, and it's going to require the support of many people from many places to help us do that.
Months have passed since Katrina, and we are still cleaning up with the help of many volunteers. It is impossible to calculate the emotional and physical toll on this community, but the human spirit is resilient when given support. Your financial contributions are needed immediately to help Moore rebuild not only the physical structures, but also the lives of people Moore serves.
The emphasis on Hurricane Katrina is sort of waning in the media, but the rebuilding process here is going to go on for a long time, and we're going to need for people to have a long attention span.
Please give, and give generously. We extend our deepest gratitude for your financial contributions.